How is Ilia doing health-wise, Dana?
He's doing good. He's doing good. You know, tough kid, obviously. You know, after the first round, his eye was bothering him. You could see that he got hit. And at one point, he like started covering his eye like this and was kind of, you know, messing with it. And then, you know, Justin just kept busting.
Topuria is going to need time to recover mentally, emotionally, and physically. He's never lost before. This is gonna take some to overcome. One of the things that was Topuria's greatest weapons, greatest strengths, greatest traits, besides his overall ability and technically be sound, and you know, he was a full package. He really was. Talent-wise, technique, everything. But one of the things foremost that leads the way for all those things to mean something is he has supreme confidence. He was a guy who didn't think he...
Dana White has finally addressed what happened inside the cage involving Ilia, breaking his silence on the incident. He also gave the MMA community an early glimpse of what's next for newly crowned champion Justin Gaethje, setting the stage for upcoming developments in the division.
He really wanted to continue, and then... and I actually think he probably won that round, too.
Yeah,
that he went into.
Round 4?
His corner, I think, stopped the fight and chopped.
When talking about what lies ahead for Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler, including the possibility of retirement, Dana White made it clear that it's not an easy call. He explained that the final decision really comes down to the fighters, as only they can determine when it's time to step away from the sport.
And that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably what you should do. But on the flip side, you just beat an undefeated badass, you know, decisively finished him. And I don't know, it's just something that he needs to work out with, you know, himself and his own mind and with his family, obviously. That Michael fought is just so good. Jeez. And that's the thing about Chandler. I mean, even going into this thing, Chandler's like, look at the guys that I fought. I mean, I fought all the baddest dudes in the division. And the lightweight division is nasty. The lightweight division is like the old light heavyweight division.
Right away, MMA Guru shared his outlook for the lightweight division, suggesting that Justin Gaethje should make his first title defense against Arman Tsarukyan in a fight for the undisputed UFC lightweight championship.
Gaethje's next opponent should be Arman Tsarukyan in the lightweight division for the undisputed world championship, of course. It's time to give Arman his title shot. I know he's been out for a long time, and if Ilia had won, you'd also want to run the Arman Tsarukyan match because of the bad blood that they have. But now I think you've got to do Gaethje versus Tsarukyan because he's been inactive, but he's still been building his name value. And the wins that he has in the lightweight division, including the win over Charles Oliveira, I know it was a split decision, and I would have loved to have seen it ran back before we don't get a chance to, because it's Tsarukyan next. I know Oliveira has a win over Gaethje. I know he does, okay? And I know that you can use that to say, well, Oliveira should get a title shot against Justin Gaethje, but I think it's time for something new. I think it's time for a new name to be in that lightweight title picture, because Ilia Topuria was that new name, but for a while it was just Makhachev versus Poirier versus Oliveira, and then Khabib was there and he was taking on Poirier and Gaethje, and I just feel like all of the same names have been in the lightweight title picture for a very long time. It's time to let someone new get a chance, and Arman has...
As attention shifts toward Justin Gaethje's future after the shocking upset, discussions naturally move toward a possible rematch. Teddy Atlas believes a second fight makes the most sense next. However, he also points out that Ilia Topuria would need substantial time to recover, both physically and mentally, before he considers returning to the octagon.
He got broken physically and mentally. And the mental part's going to take probably longer than the flesh to heal and to get right. And I want to say this. There's things that have to happen for an upset like this. And things went right when he made a mistake going to the floor, but still take none away from Gaethje. But what also went right was...
One of the key turning points in the fight came when Ilia Topuria raised concerns about his vision, leading the ringside doctor to consider halting the contest. However, after his corner stepped in and intervened, the fight was ultimately permitted to continue, which later sparked debate and questions about whether the decision was the right one.
He said what the doctor, when he heard it, he only had one way to react. I got to stop this. That it seemed like Topuria said he couldn't see. And when you say that, you're saying stop the fight, basically, because you know what a competent doctor, responsible doctor is going to do. He's going to look out for you. He's going to stop. So it looked like that's what was happening. And then all of a sudden, first of all, it was pretty obvious they didn't want the fight stopped. They didn't want it. I mean, they could. I'm not saying they were risking his life. I'm not saying that. But they didn't want the fight stopped. I don't think any of us did, to be quite frank. But you don't want a guy...
At first, it seemed like Ilia Topuria's corner was urging the referee to let the fight go on. However, Chael Sonnen later presented a different version of events after speaking with Devin Cole. Sonnen claims that Ilia Topuria's brother was actually communicating that they were done and signaling from their side that the fight should be stopped. He also highlights the composed body language in that moment, suggesting it pointed more toward accepting the end of the bout rather than opposing a stoppage.
Stops a fight, or the doctor ever stops a fight. And to an extent, if there's ever a 10-8 round, and I'm not quite willing to go that far, but if the referee or the doctor ever stops a fight, that is to let the corner know you have failed at your job. The referee should never be in a position to stop a fight, particularly in between rounds. But even as the action is going, the corner is there. The corner should have stopped.
Providing an important technical breakdown that many people miss, Corey Sandhagen pointed out one of the most overlooked aspects of the fight. He explained how Justin Gaethje used knee taps along with the constant threat of takedowns to influence Ilia Topuria's reactions. By forcing Ilia to stay cautious about a part of the game he wasn't fully comfortable defending, Gaethje created openings that ultimately proved decisive in the clinch exchanges and helped shift the momentum of the fight.
Really well in this fight is he would shoot to boom, kind of like this knee tap position. He'd collar tie and then throw uppercuts. That's a really good idea for someone that's pressing, just because if Elias is pressing me and I don't want to like open myself up and start to punch in front, I just get this guy thinking that I'm going to go low. They have to kind of respect it, or else I'll just start shooting real shots. Boom, and then he's starting to throw uppercuts here, which if there's like those little gloves, if they just nick around like the eyes or the bones and stuff, you land enough of those, like they'll start to really like close your eyes, which is exactly what happened. Ilia, I thought, did a pretty good job in the beginning rounds. He made a really weird decision in the second round, like going for...
Expanding on his analysis, Corey Sandhagen also praised Ilia Topuria's skill in close-range exchanges. He pointed out a subtle aspect of Ilia's head positioning during pocket fighting, explaining that it makes it extremely hard for opponents to land clean strikes, even when applying pressure. Sandhagen went deeper into the breakdown, noting a potential vulnerability for the shorter fighter in this type of matchup. He described it as an instinctive defensive reaction that, against the right opponent, can shift from being an advantage into a risky trade-off instead of a reliable safety mechanism.
Really good job when he is throwing attacks of keeping his head super pointed. It makes it really hard to like land like really hard shots, because when you are this pointed, even if you do get hit, obviously don't hit me, but even if I do get hit when I'm like this, I'm like in such a powerful position, whereas if I'm like this and I get hit, I kind of like get spun a little bit more. So Ilia did a great job in that second round of boom, like keeping his head way pointed and just being here like this, especially being a shorter guy. If you can get underneath someone and start bombing punches, really all that Elias can do from this spot is start to throw uppercuts. But if he starts to throw uppercuts and I'm like looping shots over here, that typically doesn't feel like a super...
A detailed technical review of the bout highlights a pattern that has caused issues for Ilia Topuria in past matchups. He often moves right up to the boundary of his opponent's striking range, then leans backward to slip incoming attacks. Early in the fight, Ilia closed the distance into Justin Gaethje's range, where a sharp, unexpected jab immediately connected cleanly. In hindsight, the key takeaway is that Topuria may not have fully respected the danger Gaethje brought into the cage. That miscalculation proved expensive, as it became more apparent with each passing exchange as the fight unfolded.
The one ththing that gets Ilia Topuria in trouble is when he walks to it the edge of his opponent's range and takes a shot. And he leans back. Ilia Topuria is on his feet. He's a boxer. He's not moving athletically. He's not moving side to side. He's not throwing push kicks. He's not throwing really high kicks. He's not looking to clinch. He can clinch. He can wrestle. But he likes to go about his fights with his hands and getting himself to the right distance. Right off the rip, he goes straight into Justin Gaethje's right.
Building on that analysis, Demetrious Johnson highlighted a deliberate strategy from Justin Gaethje's corner that ended up influencing the entire contest. From the opening bell, the focus was on absorbing the early pressure and relying on Gaethje's durability to take the fight into the later rounds. Even though Ilia Topuria had moments that appeared threatening in real time, Johnson explains that once Gaethje managed to survive that initial surge, the momentum of the fight gradually started to change. As the rounds progressed, the overall dynamic shifted in a way few had fully anticipated.
He's on that X and that Y. He's going here, 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 here. But when he backs up like this, he uses his shoulder instead of using his feet to avoid the shots that Justin Gaethje tried to hit him with. So once Justin Gaethje was able to land that shot right here and here and here, you start to see his face swell up. The doctors came in and they were about to stop the fight. And Ilia Topuria goes, no, I can see. I'm glad that they didn't stop the fight because they gotta understand Ilia Topuria's first language is Spanish. So when somebody's talking to him, he's in a...
Wrapping up his analysis, Demetrious Johnson emphasized what this outcome says about how unreliable MMA math can be. Even though Ilia Topuria had previously dominated some of the division's elite, Justin Gaethje's measured approach combined with his toughness turned out to be an ideal stylistic answer on that specific night, something few people could have truly foreseen. Johnson ended by showing clear respect for the technical battle between both fighters, praising the performance on display and congratulating Justin Gaethje for what he described as one of the standout victories of his career.
In fact, styles make the best fights for people. You look at, Khabib fighting Justin Gaethje. Khabib wanted nothing to do with the stand-up. He took him down, mounted him, triangle choked him. Justin Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira. They're going back and forth, shootout. Charles Oliveira drops him, gets his back, chokes him out. Then you have Charles Oliveira fighting Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria sleeps Charles Oliveira. And then you have Justin Gaethje taking on Ilia Topuria. He basically finishes Ilia Topuria. Just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. It was a beautiful fight. I love every fucking bit of it. The technique, just the torque of Ilia Topuria and Justin Gaethje fighting inside that phone booth was just absolutely beautiful.
Beyond the technical analysis, Teddy Atlas highlighted a more fundamental factor: experience under real adversity. He noted that Ilia Topuria has always presented himself as a fighter with a warrior mentality. But before this bout, he had never truly been placed in a situation where everything was going against him at a high-stakes level. In contrast, Justin Gaethje has been shaped through years of tough fights and setbacks, building a deep, hard-earned ability to handle those difficult moments. According to Atlas, that experience allowed Gaethje to stay composed and manage the pressure in ways that come only from being tested repeatedly in similar situations throughout a career.
Go through the fire, and he could come out on the other end. And he did. He went through the fire. The other guy had never been through the fire. The other guy's great, don't get me wrong. And he was undefeated, but he never had to go through the fire because he burnt everyone up. He extinguished everybody. And great fighters, a little older, but great fighters, legendary fighters. He demolished them all. Whether it was Volkanovski, whether it was Holloway,
However, MMA Guru suggested a broader promotional plan for the lightweight division, assuming both Paddy Pimblett and Max Holloway come out with wins in their respective bouts. He explained that this could open the door to a major revenue-driven matchup between Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett, potentially positioned as a huge co-main event strong enough to support an entire pay-per-view card even without a dominant title fight at the top. While he acknowledged that this scenario is still far from certain and depends heavily on how future fights play out, he still views the idea of that kind of crossover super fight as an intriguing possibility that fans should keep an eye on going forward.
And now you give Oliveira this, and you do Benoit versus Arman, or however you want to do things, but I think Paddy Pimblett's going to win. I think Max Holloway's going to win. And I think if that's the case, this is what you should do with the lightweight division, because this is a way to cash in on another massive super fight for Ilia Topuria as the co-main event of a title fight card. This can carry an event that doesn't even have the strongest of title fights on the card. I don't know what title fight it should be, because I'm thinking this is going to happen way down the line, so I can't even think about what titles are going to be.
Expanding on that view, MMA Guru argues that the matchup between Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett needs to happen while the window is still open. He points out that the chance to book it for the White House event has already slipped away, and after Pimblett's recent loss, the fight initially looked like it might no longer be viable. However, he also notes a shift in how the matchup is being perceived. Where he once considered Topuria a clear danger due to his striking power, he now believes the fight has moved closer to a true 50-50 scenario. This change in perspective is tied to Pimblett's rising profile and the momentum he has been building, which, in MMA Guru's view, makes the potential clash far more competitive and appealing than it once appeared.
We lost out on the chance to see Pimblett versus Topuria at the White House event, and then you think, it's probably not going to happen now, seeing as Paddy Pimblett lost. But now that Ilia's lost, he's put himself back in reach of a Pimblett matchup if he does get that win over Benoit. And after seeing how Pimblett did against Gaethje, even with the eye pokes, knowing that Gaethje is not washed up, knowing that Gaethje is still a threat in this lightweight division, and maybe even improving in his stand-up ability, despite, the terrible game planning of Ilia, I get that was a factor in the fight. I think Pimblett's stock rose after what Gaethje did to Ilia Topuria, because now, you asked me before, I'm thinking, man, Pimblett is not, that's not...
Looking ahead for Topuria, veteran journalist Ariel Helwani suggested that this surprising defeat could ultimately serve as a valuable turning point in his career development. He compared it to a key Nate Diaz-style moment, an experience that, while painful in the short term, can often shape a fighter into a more well-rounded and dangerous competitor over time. When discussing what comes next, Helwani pointed to several potential opponents for Topuria's return run, with Arman Tsarukyan standing out as a particularly sensible matchup as he works his way back toward the elite level of the division.
Like, this wasn't Arman who did this to him with ground and pound or Islam. It was like the speed bump en route to 2 mega fights. Like, did anyone...
No, but I think this is the best case scenario for him.
Oof.
Best case scenario.
Explain.
This is
for
Ilia Topuria.
Best case?
Best case. This is...
You don't think defending would have been the best
Nate Diaz
case?
fight. No. This is the Nate Diaz fight. This is Conor McGregor's Nate Diaz fight. This is the one where everybody thinks you're invincible, you think you're invincible, and you get brought back down to reality, and you have to figure it out.
Following the defeat, Ilia Topuria addressed fans on social media with a composed and respectful message. He openly accepted the loss without making any excuses, while also stressing that this moment does not define the end of his journey. His statement carried a calm sense of confidence, as he promised to return stronger, take lessons from everything that happened inside the cage, and re-establish himself as one of the top fighters in the division once again.
This is from Ilia Topuria. Justin, congratulations. You said you'd leave your mark on my face, and you did. Class. You took the sight from my right eye in the first round, and by the end of the second, from my left too. No excuses. At one of the best camps of my life. I came in sharp, prepared, and ready. Last night was your night. That's the nature of this game. Glory and pain walk side by side. I'll heal, I'll rest, and I'll return stronger, wiser, and far more dangerous. And trust me, this story between us is far from over. We will have our rematch. I mean, that's as good as it gets, right? Credit
Glory
at the
and pain
top.
walk side by side. Unbelievable.
Still giving out bars. Unsurprising to me. I imagine that he was going to be gracious in defeat.
The anticipation was that he would handle the loss with grace. Looking ahead to future possibilities, MMA Guru has proposed a high-profile matchup between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. The fight is seen as having major crossover appeal and strong fan demand, especially if Pimblett wins his next bout and continues building momentum heading into a potential blockbuster showdown.
I think Ilia's next fight should be against somebody who I believe is going to win on the next pay-per-view card in July. I think Paddy Pimblett is going to beat Benoit Saint-Denis, and I think he's going to call out Ilia Topuria on the microphone, and I think they should run Ilia versus Pimblett in the lightweight division. I know Ilia is looking for a rematch against Justin Gaethje. I think he's going to have to build himself back up to that, and I think this is the perfect fight to do it. Paddy Pimblett's going to be fighting Benoit Saint-Denis next month. After that, he's going to want some time off. It's the summer. We know Paddy Pimblett loves his food. He's going to want to take some time. Maybe Benoit Saint-Denis wins. And all of these matchups...
The lightweight division continuing to evolve rapidly. The big question is what comes next for Ilia Topuria and Justin Gaethje. For Ilia, the most likely path forward is a matchup against top-ranked contenders as he works to defend and rebuild his standing. Possible opponents include Arman Tsarukyan, Paddy Pimblett, and other elite challengers, all looking to earn a shot at one of the sport's biggest names. As for Justin Gaethje, he remains one of the most dangerous threats in the division. A potential fight with Arman Tsarukyan would be a major contender showdown, with serious implications for the next title challenger. No matter who he faces next, expectations are high for another explosive performance.